video, I'm going to show you how to correctly send the email off to your remapping file provider. The first step to getting the email sent off to your file provider is making sure that you've got the right email client and the email service provider. So there's different email service providers out there. You've got companies like Hotmail, Outlook, Yahoo and Gmail. The only one you really want to be using is Gmail because it's got a lot of benefits over the others. One of the first benefits is that when you load up the program, when you load up the Gmail, it's not loading up adverts around the edge or any videos, which is good if you're doing mobile remapping, because when you're if you got out on the road and your internet signal's not great, and you're struggling to load up internet, loading up adverts around the edge is going to slow that down. The other benefit of Gmail is it offers an option to load in HTML. So if it notices your internet's not particularly great and not got a good signal, in the bottom right hand corner it'll give an option to load in HTML format, which basically means it's just going to load without the polished logos up at the top. It'll just be a bit more basic, but it'll load up and it'll get the file sent off to your file provider. The Gmail doesn't change the format of the file either, because it's not Windows based like at Hotmail, Outlook. Don't try and look for a program to open it with and try and change the format in any way. If they don't have a program on the computer to work with that file, it just leaves it as it is and lets it be sent without changing the format, which is what we want. If you've not used email on a computer before, Gmail again is one of the simplest to use. There's big buttons for your compose when you're composing an email, and there's big buttons for sending. So all the other stuff that's less important is less obvious. It's just got big buttons for the main bit, which is composing an email and sending an email. So once you've got the right email service provider, you just need to make sure that's unique to your remapping. So don't be using your current one. It's best to create a new one that's just for remapping, and nothing can get mixed up and lost or deleted or anything like that. So you just create a new email address that you purely and only use for remapping services and your business. Once you've got a good provider for your email, you need to make sure you're using a good browser. So the options you've got on browser, you've got things like Firefox, Chrome, Internet Explorer, and the one that you want to use out of all of these is the Chrome. The Chrome has a lot of benefits in it. One of the main benefits is when you're downloading the tuned file you get back from your remapping service provider, that will come back to you in an email. If you download it in some Internet Explorers and browsers, and your internet drops during the download, it will, instead of pausing the download like Chrome does, it'll actually complete the file as incomplete. So you could end up writing that file to a car, and it might be only half of the file, or a quarter of the file, or 3/4 of the file. But unless it's a full file, the car won't start. What Google Chrome does is when you're downloading the file, if your internet signal drops, it pauses the download, and when it gets internet signal, it resumes it and continues, and it won't give you a completed file until it's got the full file. So the first thing it does is it checks the file size that's meant to be coming, and then confirms that at the end, and then presents you with the file. So it's just a lot safer if you use Google Chrome. So yeah, the first step of sending an email, you got to go across to the compose button in the top left hand corner. Once you've clicked the compose button in the top left hand corner, it'll bring up this box. You need to paste in your or type in your email address to the person that you're using for your remapping files. So what you're going to do, you can paste that in. So that's the company that's going to be tuning the files for you and getting all the modifications made to the to the flash file. Next step is you need to put in the subject, which is the registration number, and a basic of what you want doing, and then you want to fill in the bottom section with the information of what you want doing on the car. So you're going to paste that in. So what I've done, I've pasted that in from what I've typed out already. Just going to copy that into the subject and talk through it. So this is the registration number for the car. It's an Audi R8 and it's a stage 1 power request. As you can see here, it's a stage 1 remap required. The model, the make is Audi, model is R8, the reg is there, and then you've got the horsepower, the gearbox type, engine size, the mileage of the car, the ECU model, which is a Bosch ED 9.1. Then you've got the family number that was read on KES, so that's the family of the protocol that was read. Then you've got the request, which is stage 1 power. DTCs to be deleted is none. And the next step is to attach the files. So to attach the files, you go down to the paper clip at the bottom, click that, and that'll allow you to add the files. Okay, click on that. You can see here I've got the Audi files. I've got the read separate to the mods. So the read files are in one folder, the mod files are in a separate folder. So I'm going to double click on the read and ID, and here's the read and ID I took earlier. So I can click on the each one individually, or I can select them both at the same time by just clicking anywhere in the white bit and dragging along to select both files. If you want to do it individually, you can press 1, press open, then press attach again, and press the second one and press open. So that's attached both files. So that's all done, and you check it to confirm that everything's filled out so it can be processed correctly, and then you send it off by pressing this send button here. So that says message sent, so that's gone. That's now off with a file provider. They'll tune that, and we'll continue the video when the mod file comes back. I've opened the email from the inbox. Scroll down to the bottom and you'll find your tuning file. So there's the tuning file there. You need to hover over the top of it and go down to the down symbol here and click download. So that'll ask you, where do you want to save this file to? So you've got your reads and IDs, which has got the ID and the read that we sent off, and then we've got the Audi mod files. So that's where you want to save it. You want to save it in the tuned file folder, so you don't end up writing an original file. So if you ended up putting all your files in the same folder, you could end up writing either the wrong file to the wrong vehicle, or the original file to the vehicle, which would basically return it back to stock. So you always want to keep your folders separate. So I'm going to double click on there, and save the mod file in that location. So just make sure it's in the right place. So mod files, that's the mod file name. I'm going to save it there. So that's now downloaded, the tuned file. So what I'm next going to do before writing this tuned file is make sure it's downloaded the file fully. It's all downloaded as it should be by comparing the two files. So I'm going to go on the read file, and what I need to do is compare the file size and make sure the file size of the read file and the tuned file are the same. So some people hover over the top and say it says, well, 2.5 megabytes, that's not an exact file size. So what I need to do is right click on the file, go down to properties and click on that, and take note of the size of the file in bytes. So as you can see there, it's best to get a pen and paper and jot that number down, which is 2621440. So we'll go across, and that's in bytes. Press cancel. Go across to the tuned folder. Right click on it. Go down to properties and get the file size, which is 2621440. And as you can see, them numbers match. So out of over 2.5 million bytes, it's exactly the same, which means it's safe to write. If one of these bytes had been missing, say it was 2,621,439, then the car won't start. So it needs to be exactly the same. Even if you've had fault codes removed, or DPF removed, EGR removed, or things added like launch control and other items added to the file size won't change. It'll always be the exactly same size as the read file that you took off. Always be the same size. So you want to check that, and that just sort of makes sure that it's downloaded correctly. You've selected the right file when you go to write it, and it just minimises any risks of writing the wrong file or writing the incomplete file. The other tip to know on this is your mod files always want to be empty. You always don't want to be having the singular job that you're working on in this folder, because again that minimises the risk of writing the wrong file to the wrong car. So say for instance I had lots of these different Audis, the chance of selecting the wrong file by mistake is increased. So I want to get rid of all the old files that I've done, all the old Audi files I've done, and only have one in there at a time, the one that I'm working on. And if you do it that way, that's going to massively reduce the risk of writing the wrong file to the car. Once you've finished with a file, once you've wrote the file to the car, the customer's happy, you can delete that out of the folder and have it empty again. If you ever need to get that file back, you can always go to your email and get that file back off here anyway, so and re-download it. Save it to the Audi folder, and you've got it there then. So in future it's back there. So you've always got it backed up on email, and that's part of the reason we ask when you send the file in that you send it in under the registration number of the vehicle, because that's going to make sure that if you go to search for that in the future, you're going to be able to find it easily.